Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and this is the LG 42-inch C2, the latest and smallest OLED in their 2022 lineup. Today I'll be unboxing it, setting it up and giving you my first impressions, as well as covering some of the new features and changes that we've got. Now this is definitely the TV that I've been most excited about unboxing, not because it's the latest OLED from LG, but because of its size. This could be the perfect desk setup monitor for gaming, especially because it's got a 4K screen that supports 120Hz, VRR and G-Sync. And although today's video is not sponsored, I wanted to mention that Box very kindly loaned me this TV so I could review and make today's video. I have linked to their site below if you want to check them out. So here's the box that it comes in, and this is not a review unit or a factory refurb, this is the new design that LG have gone for, a simple and clean brown box. And this is completely different to what we've seen in previous years with the large colourful images on the side, but let me tell you, this is no accident. Not only have LG reduced their costs in producing these boxes, they are more environmentally friendly for both making and recycling, plus they are also 45% lighter. And as this is the 42-inch model, it can easily be lifted out by one person, which makes a nice change compared to the 77 and 86-inch models that I've had before. And here's what we get inside the box. So other than the TV, we've got the magic remote control, some batteries, a pair of feet, some screws to attach the feet, an IR blaster, some cable management accessories and the manuals. When it comes to setting up the 42-inch C2, well, you can do this on your own. The best way is to lay it flat on a table or the box that it came in, but just make sure you protect the screen. Now, as the stand is simply a pair of feet, you do need to line it up with the recessed areas on the bottom. And although the feet are labelled A and B, well, the TV isn't. So it's a case of checking which side fits which bracket. But I can say that the one labelled B will fit on the left side of the screen, and the one labelled A goes on the right. Once the feet are snapped into place, screw the 4 screws in and we're good to go. Lifting it up, it feels incredibly light, far lighter than I was expecting. But as it only weighs 9.3 kilograms with the feet on, it is not heavy at all. Before we turn this on, let's take a quick look at the rear to see what's new and what's different. So first up, the rear has a new hard plastic-like material, and this is totally different to what we've seen on the previous LG OLEDs. And the fact that it's plastic is what's contributing to the overall lighter TV. This large area at the bottom is what houses all of the screen's hardware and internals, keeping the top part nice and slim. There's some LG OLED branding on the top here, which is the only branding that we've actually got on the TV. And in the bottom corner, we've got the non-removable power plug. Now, although I said non-removable, you can actually unscrew this panel and unclip it by hand. It's just not a typical plug that you can plug in and out easily when moving it around. But if you needed to feed the power cable through a wall or your desk, for example, well, you could take it off. And if you do decide you want to wall mount it instead of using the provided feet, well, you'll be pleased to know that it does have VESA holes. These are 300 by 200, and you'll obviously need a bracket or an arm that can hold a 9 kilogram monitor. I've also put the dimensions on screen now, along with a few other measurements that you might not be able to find online. These will hopefully be useful for your own setup. And looking at the ports, we've got 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, and that supports 4K at 120Hz. This should be more than enough for all of the devices that you're likely to use. And one of these are labelled eARC, and that's for connecting to your AVR or your soundbar. And then we've got 3 USB ports, a LAN port, as well as Wi-Fi support. And one thing that's really cool about this year's model are all of the ports are side mounted, so there are no HDMI sticking out the back of the TV. Not only does this look neater, but it will make it far easier for wall mounting, giving it an even slimmer profile. If you do use the feet, you'll want to use the provided cable trunking that's built in. There are these little plastic clips that attach to the rear of the TV, and that stops the cables from hanging down. Then the cables can be tucked into the back of the feet, pop these little covers on, and you've got a pretty decent cable management setup. Plus, all of these ports can be covered up using this provided cover, which makes it look really tidy. This is definitely the cleanest looking TV or monitor setup that I've seen. Right, let's get this flipped around and take a look at the screen. And first things first, we need to remove this protective film, as the film actually makes the TV look far more reflective than it really is. But wow, the frame and the edge on this TV is incredibly thin. You can see just how slim and small the profile is on this 42-inch model. We've now got this thin metal border around the side, which means the profile is slightly thicker than before, but overall it looks better and it's even easier to pick up. And the bezel is almost non-existent on the front, giving it this clean and virtually borderless look. Now, as there's no metal stand or plate on the front like we have with the larger models, there's actually no branding at all on the front of the C2 model. The feet do a good job of lifting it off the table, but as it's got VESA holes, you could mount this on an arm, which would look awesome. Just make sure you hide those cables away so you cannot see them hanging. When you first turn it on, you'll run through a very basic setup like choosing the country you're in, signing into your Wi-Fi and downloading any apps that you want to use. It only takes you a couple of minutes. The first thing you should do once it's set up is check for updates. You'll want to make sure you're on the latest update to get the most out of it. And now that's all done, we're good to go. Okay, so first impressions on the screen, this looks great. It's bright, vibrant, and compared to the GP950 that I usually have sitting on my desk, it looks so sharp and clear. I know this sounds like I've never seen an OLED TV before, but seeing an OLED this small is awesome. I can already see how nice this is going to look for gaming, and it could be the ultimate monitor right now. I'll do some further testing over the next week, including checking out the brightness, response time, and I might even compare it to my C1. But a quick note about reflections. Now this will always be an issue with OLEDs as they have that very glossy finish rather than matte, but the anti-reflective coating on this looks really good. In fact, this is definitely a darker tint than the C1. Okay, so as this is the 42-inch screen, it's probably going to be used by most of you for gaming. At least that's the only reason I have it sitting on my desk. It's safe to say that the LG C2 is an absolute beast for gaming. As I mentioned earlier, it's got those 4 HDMI 2.1 ports with full bandwidth. That means you can get 4K 120Hz gaming via a PC, PS5, or Xbox Series X, and it will look insane. Plus, we've got the Game Optimizer mode, which is one of the biggest advantages of the LG monitors and TVs. And here's a quick example of how it looks, but I will cover more on gaming during my full review next week. Why don't you let me know what games you would like to see me testing? The C2 is also loaded with the 2021 WebOS 6.0. I know this new UI has had some criticism, including from myself, with how slow and laggy the menus are. But having a quick look around the menus now, I can say this definitely loads far faster than it ever has done before. On first glance, it doesn't look like the home screen has changed much here, so you've got all of your inputs and any LG home appliances you've got installed. And going through the settings on the C2, it doesn't look like much has changed. We've got the same settings menu, including picture settings and various others. And of course, we've got the highly regarded gaming mode. But there is one cool new feature here, and that's the picture-in-picture. This is what lets you show two sources at the same time, but you can actually control now where on the screen and which window size you wish to use. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that all apps are supported yet, but hopefully that will change. And a quick look at the App Store, well, that looks exactly the same. There are no changes here. This is something I would like to have seen updated, as it's not changed for a few years. I know you're going to ask what picture settings that I'm using, and I was going to show you today, but I think I'm going to leave that for my next video. It gives me enough time to tweak the settings that I'm using across all of my sources, and I can share them once I'm happy. But as a start, I either use the Filmmaker or the ISF Expert Bright modes. Then I turn off the energy saving mode, turn off True Motion or reduce it massively, and tweak the OLED brightness, and that's a great start for me. But let me know if you're interested in seeing the full settings that I use across HDR, SDR, and gaming. And here's a very quick look at the remote control that we get with the LG C2. So like before, it comes with a magic remote, which means you can wave this little cursor around the screen to control it. It has the same design and features that we saw on last year's C1 model, but that's not a bad thing. We've got the scroll wheel in the center for navigating the TV. Then we've got the quick access buttons across the bottom like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And it's also got Google Assistant and Alexa built in for your voice commands. So my first impressions on this 42-inch C2 are that it's an awesome TV. I can see this being really popular this year. And as I mentioned at the start, this was loaned to me by Box for 2 weeks. But after using it for the last few days, I am seriously considering buying one for myself. That would then replace the GP950 that I have on my desk. The only thing that I need to get used to is the size. Could this be too big as a monitor? I will do my full review next week showing off some movies, gaming, and how good this TV looks. So if you've got any questions about the C2 OLED, please drop those below and I will try to answer those in the next video. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see more reviews on the 2022 TVs. Now drop a C2 OLED in the comments and I will give you a thumbs up for staying right to the end. And if you did enjoy today's video, why don't you check out my 2022 room tour, as it covers everything in this room apart from the C2. Thanks for watching, please like, sub and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time.